Chosen one, why are your hands trembling right now? Why did you feel that pull, that strange gravitational force to click on this exact video at this exact moment? And why does part of you want to run away while another part can't move? Chosen one, I need you to stop everything. Put your phone down if you're driving. Close the other tabs. Turn off the noise. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't information, it's interception. You didn't find this message. This message found you. See, most people stumble onto videos. They browse, they scroll, they click and move on. But you? The moment you saw those words, divine help is here, something in your chest tightened. Something in your spirit said, wait, stop, listen. That wasn't curiosity. That was recognition. Heaven has been tracking you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're chosen. And tonight, right now, in this sacred minute, the God who knows your name scheduled an appointment. No accident. No algorithm. Divine appointment. If your soul just whispered, yes, type amen in the comments. That's not engagement, that's agreement. You're telling heaven, I'm listening. Because let me tell you what God just showed me about you. You've been praying prayers that feel like they're hitting the ceiling. You've been waiting so long you've started to wonder if you heard him wrong. Maybe you're too old. Maybe you missed your window. Maybe the door closed and you weren't paying attention. But what if, hear me now, what if every delay was divine alignment? What if every closed door was heaven saying, not that one. I've got something bigger. What if this feeling of being stuck, this holy frustration, this ache in your bones that says there has to be more, what if that's not despair? What if that's labor pains? You're not reading this by coincidence. You're standing on holy ground, and I know you feel it. That electricity in the air, that weight in your chest that's part fear, part hope, part God. Is this really you? The Apostle Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians 12-9, My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Did you catch that? Weakness isn't your disqualification, it's God's entry point. Every night you've cried alone. Every morning you've wondered how you'll make it another day. Every moment you've felt forgotten, overlooked, invisible, God was there, writing, recording, preparing. And tonight, he's answering, not with a whisper, with a roar. Here's what most people don't understand about divine timing. They think delay means denial. But what if delay just means you're not dealing with the junior varsity anymore? What if what's coming is so massive, so explosive, so life-altering that God had to wait until you were strong enough to carry it? You're about to find out. Before we go one step further, I want to say something from my heart. For 50 years, I've walked this path. I've seen God move in ways that shattered every box we tried to put him in. And I've learned that when heaven speaks, heaven pays attention. Some of you watching have been part of this family for years. You've commented, you've prayed, you've stood with us when the message needed to reach someone hanging on by a thread. And I want you to know your generosity through super thanks, your support, your faithfulness. You're not just watching, you're participating in miracles. You're helping us reach the 3 a.m. widow who thinks she's alone, the 70-year-old man who's given up on his dreams, the forgotten soul in the nursing home who needed to remember they still matter to God. Whether you've given financially or you're here giving your time, your attention, your faith, you matter. This isn't a transaction, this is a movement, and you're part of it. If this word is resonating deep in your spirit, go ahead and let that support flow as the Spirit leads. But either way, stay right here, because what happens next is going to change everything. You ready? Heaven just opened the door. And what's on the other side is going to leave you breathless. Why does your back still hurt from burdens you carried 20 years ago? Why do you wake at 3 a.m. with your mind racing through problems that aren't even yours to solve anymore? And why, tell me why, Have you spent decades carrying weights that would have crushed anyone else, yet here you are, still breathing, still believing, still standing? Listen to me, chosen one, that weight you've been carrying, those sleepless nights when your children stopped calling, those hospital vigils when the healing never came, those kitchen tables covered in bills you didn't know how to pay, those prayers you whispered into pillows soaked with tears nobody saw that wasn't punishment. That was proof. Proof that heaven marked you. Proof that God looked across all of creation and said, this one can handle what's coming. This one has the backbone for breakthrough. You see, most people think suffering is random. They think hardship means God forgot about them. But let me tell you something that's going to shatter that lie right now. God doesn't trust the fragile with fire. He trusts the faithful with weight. Look at Job. Everything stripped away: his children, his wealth, his health, covered in boils, sitting in ashes while his own wife told him to curse God and die. But Job said in chapter 13, verse 15, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him." And what happened? God didn't just restore Job, he doubled everything Job had lost. You think that's coincidence? You think Job was chosen for that trial randomly? No, God knew Job could carry it. God knew Job wouldn't break, just like he knew about you. Think about Ruth, a widow in a foreign land, gleaning scraps from strangers' fields just to survive. No husband, no security, no guarantees. But she kept showing up, kept working, kept trusting. And Boaz noticed her not because she was perfect, but because she was persistent. Ruth 2:12 says, "May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord." And she was. Ruth became the great-grandmother of King David. Her story became the bloodline of Jesus Christ. That widow scraping by. She was carrying the future of salvation in her faithfulness. Just like you're carrying something right now that you can't even see yet. Moses spent 40 years in the desert before God called him from a burning bush. Anna, the prophetess, was 84 years old. 84. When she finally saw the Messiah she'd been praying for her entire life. Luke 2:38 says, "She spoke about Jesus to all who were looking forward to the redemption of Jerusalem." She didn't give up at 50. She didn't quit at 70. She carried that weight of waiting, that burden of hope, for 8 decades. And when the moment came, she became the voice that announced redemption. Your age isn't your expiration date, it's your qualification. Here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. While others got ease, you got endurance. While others received comfort, you received character. While others were handed blessings on silver platters, you were forged in fire. And you know what fire does? It doesn't destroy gold. It purifies it. Every tear you cried, God bottled it. Psalm 56:8 says, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle." Every prayer you prayed that felt unanswered, he recorded it. Every sacrifice you made that nobody noticed, heaven noticed. And now, right now, heaven is about to show you why. That weight wasn't meant to break you, it was meant to build you. Because what's coming next requires someone who's been tested, someone who's been through hell and didn't lose their faith, someone who knows how to stand when everything says fall. Heaven trusted you with fire because God knew you'd turn it into light. So let me ask you this. If you've carried it this far, if you've survived what should have destroyed you, if you're still here despite everything that tried to take you out, don't you think there's a reason? Don't you think your survival is proof of your calling? If this word is hitting your spirit right now, type "I've carried it too" in the comments. Let heaven and earth know you're still standing, because your testimony isn't over. It's just getting started. You feel it, don't you? That trembling beneath your ribs, that warmth spreading across your chest like invisible fire. Your body is telling you something your mind hasn't caught up to yet. This isn't anxiety. This is recognition. Isaiah 43:19 thunders across eternity. "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? Can you feel what's moving beneath the surface of your life right now? Dreams you buried 40 years ago, when someone told you to be realistic, they're shifting underground like seeds awakening after decades of winter. That calling you silenced when life got too hard, when bills got too high, when age crept up and whispered too late, it's stirring. The hair on your arms standing up right now, that's not coincidence. The warmth flooding your chest, that's not emotion, that's divine resonance. Your spirit is picking up frequencies from heaven that your logical mind can't translate yet. You've been feeling restless, haven't you? Waking at 3 a.m. with this unexplainable urgency, staring out windows, feeling like a caged eagle that forgot it had wings. You thought it was confusion. Let me shatter that lie right now. It's not confusion, it's divine unrest. God is shaking you awake. This isn't breakdown, this is breakthrough turbulence. You're not falling apart, you're being recalibrated. Before your mother felt the first flutter of life in her womb, before you took your first breath on this earth, God marked you. Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Set you apart. That discomfort you've felt your entire life trying to squeeze into normal, that's because normal was never your address. Think back. Remember that childhood sensitivity, the way you just knew things before they happened, the way you could feel the weight in a room when everyone else was laughing, the way broken people found you without even trying. You thought you were weird. God says you were wired. Wired for prophecy, wired for discernment, wired to carry a frequency that makes demons nervous and angels lean in closer. Why have you always felt different? Because heaven marked you before time began. If you've felt different your entire life, type these 3 words in the comments. I was marked. Let's awaken your tribe. You're not alone anymore. And now, right now, in this moment, heaven is turning its spotlight on you. You are not fading. You are focusing. You are not getting older. You are getting dangerous. The world looks at your silver hair and sees decline. God looks at your silver hair and sees the crown of wisdom finally ready to be revealed. Proverbs 16:31. Gray hair is a crown of glory. It is gained in a righteous life. Moses didn't hit his stride until he was 80 years old. Abraham became a father at 100. Your age isn't your limitation. Your age is your weapon. You've got tested faith. You've got battle-earned wisdom. You've got scars that preach sermons louder than any pulpit ever could. You've survived betrayals that would have broken others. You've worshipped through nights that would have destroyed them. And now God is saying, I kept you here for this hour. I kept you alive for this battle. Right now, as you sit wherever you are, heaven's frequency is tuning to your name. That pressure in your chest, that's divine assignment dropping into your spirit like a weight you're about to learn to carry. Now that you know who you really are, now that the mark has been revealed, what are you going to do with this terrifying, beautiful, dangerous awakening? Listen to me carefully. Chosen one. You've been praying for breakthrough, crying out for acceleration, begging God to move faster. But here's what heaven just revealed to me that's going to shake you to your core. God will never accelerate what he hasn't first aligned. You can't run a train at 200 miles per hour on crooked tracks. It'll derail. It'll crash. It'll destroy everything in its path. And that's exactly why God has been slowing you down. Not to torture you, not to ignore you, but to straighten the tracks before he releases the full speed of your destiny. Look around your life right now. Notice who's missing. That friend who used to call every day gone. That family member who always had advice silent. That relationship you thought would last forever ended. And you've been crying about it, haven't you? Asking God, why did they leave? Why am I suddenly so alone? But what if I told you they didn't leave? What if God removed them? Because here's the truth that's going to set you free. It wasn't rejection, it was redirection. Proverbs 4:26 says, "Give careful thought to the paths for your feet, and be steadfast in all your ways." God is aligning your path, and anything that was pulling you off course, He's pruning it, cutting it, removing it with surgical precision. You see that season of silence you've been in, that loneliness that's been suffocating you. That's not punishment, beloved. That's preparation. God has been clearing the frequency so you can hear His voice without interference. He's been emptying the room so there's space for what He's about to fill it with. But here's where it gets prophetic. Here's where heaven pulls back the curtain. God operates on a 5-day blueprint. Not human days, divine days. And right now, you're in day 3. Let me show you what that means. Day 1, God fed your spirit. He gave you dreams, visions, downloads in the middle of the night. You started seeing things clearer than you've seen in decades. That's supernatural nutrition. Day 2, He pruned your relationships. That's why the phone stopped ringing. That's why certain people vanished. God was clearing dead weight. Day 3, where you are right now, He's upgrading your GPS, your foresight, your ability to see around corners. You're starting to sense things before they happen. That's not coincidence. That's divine intelligence. But here's what's coming. Day 4, supernatural encounters, divine connections you never saw coming. Day 5, God gives you a new vocabulary, new authority, new language that commands atmospheres. We're only on day 3, beloved. Do you understand what that means? The best part hasn't even started yet. But here's the confrontation you need to hear. You think you've been waiting on God? God's been waiting on you, waiting for you to stop fighting the alignment, waiting for you to surrender the relationships He's trying to remove, waiting for you to trust His pruning process instead of crying over what He cut. The alignment window is open right now. Not tomorrow when you feel more ready. Not next week when circumstances look better. Now, this moment, this very second, because I need to tell you something that's going to terrify you and liberate you at the same time. This window won't stay open forever. God is asking you a question that demands an answer. Will you trust my alignment, or will you keep fighting for your own crooked tracks? If you're ready to stop resisting and start aligning, if you're ready to let God remove what needs to go and position what needs to come, I need you to type in the comments right now. I'm ready now, not tomorrow, not when it feels comfortable, now. Because what comes after alignment, that's when heaven hits the accelerator. And beloved, you have no idea how fast you're about to move. Let me tell you about Margaret. 68 years old, Brooklyn born and raised. Spent 43 years as a public school teacher, poured everything into other people's children, while her own grew up and moved away. Husband passed in 2019. Savings demolished by medical bills. Living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Queens, wondering if God had forgotten her name. She woke up one morning, February dawn, bitter cold, and heard one sentence, not audible, deeper than that. It rose up from somewhere in her chest. Call your daughter. That's it. That's all heaven said. Now Margaret hadn't spoken to her daughter in 4 years, not because of some big blow-up, just life, distance, hurt feelings that calcified into silence. And this instruction felt ridiculous, impossible, terrifying. But something in Margaret, some part of her that had been paralyzed by grief and disappointment, suddenly moved. She picked up the phone. Her hands shook so badly she almost dropped it twice, and she called. 3 months later, Margaret was living in her daughter's guest house in New Jersey, not because she needed rescuing, but because God was repositioning her. That daughter, going through a divorce. 3 grandchildren Margaret barely knew, falling apart. And Margaret broken. Forgotten Margaret became the glue that held that family together. But here's where it gets supernatural. That daughter's neighbor ran a non-profit for elderly women escaping domestic violence. Met Margaret, heard her story, and within 6 months, Margaret wasn't just surviving, she was training counselors, speaking at conferences, and building a ministry that's now touching thousands of women across the tri-state area. One instruction, one phone call, one moment of obedience when everything in her screamed to stay safe, stay silent, stay small. That's what I'm telling you right now, chosen one. Your small obedience is about to open a floodgate you cannot even imagine. You've been waiting for some massive, cinematic moment, some burning bush, some voice from the clouds. But what if God has been whispering small instructions you've been too afraid to follow? What if your breakthrough isn't waiting for you to do something big, but for you to do something simple that feels impossible? 1 Peter 5:10 says, "After you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace, who has called you to his eternal glory in Christ, will himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you." Read that again. Will himself restore. Not might, not maybe if you're good enough. Will himself. God doesn't need your permission to restore you. He needs your surrender. He doesn't need your strength. He needs your yes. And the moment the split second you stop resisting the small instruction he's been whispering, everything shifts. You know what your problem is. You've been mistaking silence for absence. You think because you can't see what God is doing, he isn't doing anything. But Isaiah 45:3 promises, "I will give you the treasures of darkness and the hoards in secret places." Treasures in darkness, in secret. While you've been crying about the dark, God has been building treasure in it. While you've been begging him to turn the lights on, he's been filling the shadows with gold you'll only see when you're brave enough to walk forward blind. That job loss? That was God removing you from a place that would have kept you small. That diagnosis? That was God slowing you down long enough to hear what he's been trying to say. That betrayal? That was God cutting off a relationship that would have aborted your destiny. You didn't lose those things. You were delivered from them. And now, right now, you're standing at the edge of something so massive that if I told you what God is about to do, you'd laugh just like Sarah did. You'd doubt just like Thomas did. You'd run just like Jonah did. But Romans 12:2 says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Not by your circumstances changing, not by your bank account filling up, not by people finally seeing your worth, by your mind being renewed. What if this whole time, the breakthrough wasn't something God needed to do for you, but something he needed to do in you? What if the veil that needed to lift wasn't hiding your miracle, it was hiding you from yourself? You've been praying for a breakthrough, but you are the breakthrough. You've been crying out for divine help, but divine help has been breathing in your lungs this whole time, keeping you alive through seasons that should have destroyed you. This isn't waiting anymore, beloved. This is birthing. And what you've mistaken as silence, that long, agonizing pause where nothing seemed to move, that was God stitching your miracle behind the curtain. Every thread mattered, every day counted, every tear watered seeds you couldn't see, and the curtain is about to drop. If you feel that veil lifting right now, if something in your chest just cracked open, don't you dare scroll away. Don't you dare treat this like just another video. Type it. The breakthrough is here. Not because I need engagement, because your mouth needs to agree with what your spirit already knows. Say it, declare it, release it. Now watch what happens next. Now here's where everything shifts, chosen one. Because breakthrough isn't something you chase. It's something you live from. You've been waiting for the moment when God finally shows up and changes everything in one explosive instant. But what if I told you the breakthrough already happened? What if the divine help you've been praying for isn't coming, it's here? Right now, you're asking, if it's here, why do I still feel stuck? Why am I still struggling? Why does my bank account look the same? because you're still living to the breakthrough instead of from it. There's a massive difference. One is desperation, the other is occupation. Think about the Israelites. They got delivered from Egypt in one night. Pharaoh's army drowned, chains broken. But 40 years later, they were still complaining in the wilderness about Egyptian food. They were physically free but mentally enslaved. They had breakthrough, but they never learned to live from it. You can't live in tomorrow's promise with yesterday's mindset. So let me give you something practical. Before the world gets loud tomorrow, before your phone starts buzzing, before the bills hit the mailbox, give heaven 5 minutes. Not 5 minutes of begging, 5 minutes of tuning in. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." That word still means to let go, to release your grip. 5 minutes where you're not trying to fix anything, just stillness, just presence. Then gratitude. Before you tell God what you need, thank Him for what He's already done. The surgery you survived, the accident that could have killed you but didn't, the day you almost gave up but something stopped you. That wasn't luck, that was intervention. When you start your day acknowledging divine help that's already shown up, you train your spirit to recognize it when it shows up again. You're not maintaining faith, you're cultivating frequency. Now here's where it gets dangerous. Everything God has downloaded into your spirit through the fire, it's not just for you. It's meant to flow through you into every area of your life. Your marriage that feels dead? Apply the resurrection power you've been carrying. Your finances that feel cursed? Speak the blessing deposited in your mouth. Your body that feels broken? Release the healing brewing in your spirit. Most people separate the sacred from the ordinary. Church is holy, Monday is mundane. But what if every moment is holy ground if you invite presence into it? Even your morning coffee can become communion. That quiet moment before the day attacks you, when it's just you and the steam rising, that's a meeting. Your kitchen table becomes an altar. Your morning walk becomes worship. Your conversation with the cashier becomes ministry. Because you're not chasing miracles anymore. Miracles are chasing you. When you finally understand that divine help isn't something you wait for, but something you walk in, everything shifts. You stop begging for breakthrough and start occupying it. That problem at work? God's already in that meeting before you walk in. That diagnosis? Heaven already wrote a different report. That financial crisis keeping you up? The provision is already in motion. You're not hoping for a miracle, you're hosting one. Acts 17:28 says, "In Him we live and move and have our being." Present tense, right now. You're not waiting to get into God's presence, you're breathing in His presence. So what changes tomorrow morning? Everything and nothing. The circumstances might look the same, but you're different. You wake up knowing every step is on holy ground, every word carries divine weight. The ordinary becomes holy, the mundane becomes miraculous, and suddenly you're not surviving anymore. You're thriving in the breakthrough that was always yours. So let me ask you, if divine help is already here, how will you live differently starting right now? Chosen one. Before you close this video and return to your life, I need you to remember 3 things. First, your breakthrough isn't coming, it's already here. Stop waiting for some future moment and start living from the reality that divine help has already invaded your present. Every breath you take is wrapped in His presence. Second, your age is not your limitation, it's your qualification. God doesn't measure you by the world's clock. Moses was 80 when his real work began. Your finest hour isn't behind you. It's unfolding right now. Third, your pain has purpose. Every tear you've cried, every night you've endured, every moment you thought you couldn't go on, God was there, taking notes, building something magnificent out of what tried to break you. But I need you to hear this from the depths of my heart. You are not walking this journey alone. Even when the road feels uncertain, even when the breakthrough seems delayed, even when doubt whispers lies in your ear, the Creator of the universe is working behind the scenes on your behalf. He's moving mountains you can't see, opening doors you haven't found yet, orchestrating blessings you can't even imagine. And right here, in this community, you have thousands of brothers and sisters who understand your struggles, who believe in your calling, who are ready to stand with you in prayer. We're not just viewers on a screen, we're a family, united by faith. So let me ask you this. If God has brought you this far, through every valley, every storm, every season that tried to break you, why would He abandon you now at the threshold of your greatest victory? Before you go, let me place my hand on your shoulder through these words and pray over you. Heavenly Father, I lift up every precious soul who has stayed with us through this message. Lord, you see the tears they've cried in secret. You know the battles they've fought in silence. You feel the ache in their hearts for breakthrough, healing, provision. Tonight, I decree their season of waiting is over. Father, release supernatural provision that defies economic laws. Open doors no man can shut. Bring divine connections that will accelerate their purpose. Give them strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow. Protect them, Lord. Send angels to guard their steps and prepare their path. Let them feel your presence in every room they enter, your peace in every storm they face, your love in every moment they doubt their worth. I speak life over their bodies, healing, vitality, renewed strength. I speak abundance over their finances, supernatural increase, unexpected blessings. I speak restoration over their relationships, reconciliation, divine connections, love that reflects your heart. Most of all, Father, remind them daily that they are chosen, loved, and never alone. Let them wake each morning knowing this is the day you've made for their breakthrough. In Jesus' mighty name, Amen. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us what God spoke to your heart tonight. Share your testimony. Ask for prayer. This community will surround you with intercession. And please, share this message with someone who needs to hear that their breakthrough is closer than they think. If this word touched your spirit, subscribe and hit that notification bell. You're not just subscribing to a channel, you're connecting with a movement of chosen ones who refuse to accept defeat. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. You are loved beyond measure, and your story is far from over. Until we meet again, walk in the authority of who you are. You are chosen, you are loved, you are never alone. God bless you abundantly.